Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to the Pinning Combination, the first of 2022. I'm KJ Pilcher, joined by Hall of Famer Dick Briggs. And uh, how was your holiday? I had a great one. Um, but how'd yours go, Coach?
Very good. Just had the family in and really that was about it. So
You know, the older I get, the more I enjoy kind of a reserved, laid back type of holiday. So whenever that happens, I'm pretty content. So we had a nice time with family, and now we're into the new year already. It just seemed like 2021 went by fast here a little bit. Well, I guess depends on what part of the season
yeah,
you're talking about, and with some of the things that popped up over the year.
I'll tell you, between 20 and 21, we're hoping 22 is a little more positive than the last 2 years. That's for sure.
That's sure. Well, there's just a little bit of college news to talk about here since the last time that we met. And we might as well just jump right into the big one. Over the weekend on New Year's Day, actually, the University of Iowa and Spencer Lee both announced that he's going to be uh, undergoing surgery to fix both of his knees. He'll miss the rest of the season. You know, what were your first thoughts when you heard about his decision to do that?
Well, not knowing anything about the situation, other than the surface stuff that we're fed a little bit of, my first initial thought was, and I've been thinking this for a long time. Why didn't he do surgery right away? Well, I didn't realize he hadn't done it on his other knee that had evidently recovered and had no issues with, and he was hoping that this knee would recover like the right knee, I guess, was that the first one or whatever. Anyway,
Mhm.
so I kind of understand why they didn't do that, but on the other hand, uh, now I'm wondering why. I guess it's just the way it played out.
You know, I was talking to Mark Dukes and Scott Unash um on the gym class earlier this week, and the thought that popped into my mind is a lot of people are talking about oh, he's going to get surgery now, he's going to get surgery now, and it's like that's the normal thing.
Yeah,
There have been this extraordinary expectation that and of course, you know, what he's been able to do is kind of created that. But who else would you expect to compete and have a chance at a national title without two ACLs? I think it just
well,
speaks to the remarkable athlete and wrestler that he is.
right. And obviously the pain's too great, and his comment afterwards or something about pains for wussies or whatever, something like that, which everyone loved, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a limit to it, and you got to do the sensible thing, because you've got to be able to walk the rest of your life, right? And
Right.
so you've got to do what's smart, what's sensible, not just for his wrestling career, but for his life, rest of it.
And that's the thing too, that this had to have been extremely painful, because when it came to wrestling on the mat, he wrestled down in Florida and hand, beat three guys handily. Two of them ranked in the top 10, 11, including Camacho from North Carolina State. Um, outscored the three of them 31-1, dealing with this whole thing.
Yeah, and he
That's
did that.
incredible.
He did that at the national tournament last year, and I mean,
Mhm.
then he did it at the was it the Olympic trials in Texas, maybe a couple of
Yeah,
years
last December.
last December, right after he had recovered from his first knee injury.
Yeah.
And I mean, the guy's pretty incredible when he gets on the mat and can go. but obviously it's just too much.
Yeah, and listening to what he was doing in the off season to try to build those muscles, he gave it. Sounds like he gave it everything he had to be able to try to bolster the muscles around that knee like he did previously, and just you know just wasn't able to go. And like you said, the future down the road for them, one, if everything goes well, you got to think he he's close to a lock for a 4-time titleist, and then it also sets him up for being healthy for a run at Paris in 2024.
Yeah, exactly. Tell me what the status is. He has to now apply for a hardship redshirt,
Yeah,
medical redshirt.
medical hardship waiver, and it sounds like it's a pretty good chance. He hasn't even used his redshirt year yet. But because of the circumstances, this would kind of fall under that medical hardship waiver. I think you've got to have competed in less than 30% of the season's competitions, and you have to prove that the injury kept you out of competition. And of course, you know, uh, he did have one opportunity to compete down in Florida, and then now after that, I think both of those boxes are checked.
Right.
But you never know with the NCAA. I mean,
That's yeah, exactly. They've been through this COVID. Other than the initial season, they've been pretty giving, I guess.
mhm.
And so you would think that this would fall into that category as well. So I mean, to me, it seems like a no-brainer, but we'll
Yeah,
wait and see.
yeah. Um, Now the question goes to who replaces him, and where does Iowa sit now in the national uh, title landscape? I mean, with Spencer out, that's 24 and a half points
Yeah,
off the table.
the minimum.
Yeah.
All those
So
balls, right?
does that vault Penn State to the front runner?
Oh, I kind of sat down and charted the four teams that I thought were the front runners:
Mm-hmm.
Iowa, Penn State, Michigan, and Arizona State. And
Right.
and I don't know that Oklahoma State really can fit into there, maybe, but at this point in time, I didn't really think of Oklahoma State. But in my opinion, after charting it, it really is, and I'm not sure it wasn't before
Sure.
it went out. So, but it's definitely Penn State's right now with Spencer out. So, Penn State has 4 number 1 ranked kids. 3 of them are defending champs, if I remember right. Is that right? 3
Mm-hmm.
uh, and then a couple others. And now you throw Hildebrand in, if that's the case, at 125. Who Drew Hildebrand's a transfer from Central Michigan that was posted that he's transferred to Penn State. Will be their 25-pounder. He's a 4-time qualifier, 2-time All-American,
Uh-huh.
Michigan, and so he's a 6-year senior. That fills a gap that they needed
Badly.
Yeah, maybe not so badly now that Lee's out, but especially with Lee out,
Right.
really quite a and Michigan. I don't know if Michigan, they've got firepower, but boy, I don't know if they can catch Penn State. Rankings are one thing, and a couple of those weight classes where they're ranked number 1 could go either way. Like, I mean, really all of them for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you just look at start at 133 with RBY, he's ranked number 1. Number two is Fix. Number three is, DeSanto, I think, and then, so I mean, it's anything can happen. Then after that, it's equally as tough behind that. So it's just, all of those weights that have nothing's for sure. That's, and a couple of the weights, it's one of the teams, Penn State 1, maybe Michigan 2, Iowa 3, so it's just, it's crazy. We'll see. It's gonna make it fun.
Yeah, definitely. And the question immediately turns to who replaces him. Jesse Ibarra's been in the lineup before the Florida trip. He was 5-1. His one loss came to Kyson Terrakina in the Cy-Hawk Series duel. But I think a lot of people are looking towards Drake Ayala pulling a red shirt and stepping in, given what he's done in open tournaments in the Southern Scuffle, where he finished third overall. What do you think there? I mean, I personally, if they want to entertain any chance of competing for a national title, I think Ayala has to be the guy at 125. I think he's your best bet to get any type of All-American points. Not taking anything away from Jesse Ibarra, but when your one loss is to Kyson Terrakina,
right?
That doesn't necessarily bode well for being able to break into the top 12 or top 8.
Exactly. I mean, Iowa's schedule was pretty. I'm soft, I guess, for a D1 team to be up at Luther. So a lot of the wins that Ibarra might have had may have not been with the stiffest competition to tack on to that loss. If Ayala is the number 2 man, and knowing that Lee will be back next year, there's no reason for him not to take that red shirt off, in my opinion. Get this year in, make the best of it. Get to work yourself to be that All-American, qualifier first, All-American, and who knows, goes climb as high as you can, because next year, if you don't wrestle this year, you're gonna be sitting out 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Lee's back, you're gonna be sitting behind Lee. So, assuming Lee has a surgery that recovers well and is ready to go next year. Yep, and that a little bit of history with pulling red shirts off. 25-pounders at Iowa, at least the last time they did it, worked out pretty well. I mean,
yeah, right.
IL is no lead, but who knows? Maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, and interesting thing is it's the same time frame. It's the same time frame of the season that Lee. So if you believe in coincidences and stuff like that, or signs, hey, maybe this is it, that it would work out well. The one thing that's a little different is 125, I think, is going to be a lot tougher than what people think. You're going to get Suriano back. You've got Pat Glory. You mentioned Hildebrandt coming back into the fold. I think Vito's back down to 25, right, for Cornell.
Right, and then also don't count out Courtney,
right?
National runner-up. He's no slouch either. So I mean, it's
right,
deep, as you're saying. So
yeah, so it's going to be interesting, and Tom Brands has his weekly press conference on Wednesday this week. Maybe we'll find out a little bit more. The one thing I could see, though, since Ayala's wrestled McKee twice, maybe having Ibarra wrestle this on Friday, and then maybe having Ayala come back on Sunday, if they're going to do that. Just wrestling the guy 3 times in a matter of like 4 or 5 weeks. Does that make sense or?
Yeah, I watched the match, their last match. Um,
Mhm.
he's right there, so they may be saying, "Let's get him," So
Oh, okay.
I don't know. So um, I don't disagree with what you said. It's interesting. We'll see how they play that.
Yeah. And if they do pull the red shirt, how about this for the first weekend? You have McKee from Minnesota, third time in 5 weeks, and then Sunday you'll have Schroeder from Purdue, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you've got two tough matchups right out of the gate, and I'm sure Drake Ayala wouldn't mind. I think he like any good competitor, he thrives for that.
Right. And I'm going to go a little step further. Like I get the feeling we're starting to see what Iowa was trying not to tell us. By that I mean what they were trying not to tell us with their vacancies in the duels and in their tournaments, and it's particularly at 25, at 74, 84, early on at 149. So those absentees out of the lineup, starting to show why. Obviously, they can't come out and say, "Hey, this is the reason why," for lots of reasons. But now I think we're starting to see that. So that being said, Iowa's lineup or schedule it's not easy. But it's like you said, it's Minnesota, Purdue, then Northwestern, Illinois, followed by Ohio State and Penn State, all in January. So,
Yeah.
wow. So then I think in February, then Oklahoma State. I don't know if Iowa goes down there or
Yes.
unless that's in February as well. So that's looming. So
Yeah, they have that Oklahoma State. The Oklahoma State duel is going to be held in Texas,
oh,
at the Rangers Stadium
I forgot
there, and it's going to be held in conjunction with the USA Iran freestyle duel as well. So, yeah, that going down there, that's going to be a different experience. So,
I'd forgotten about that. You're right. But my point for bringing that up is Iowa's, they've had this fragmented lineup, and they're not the only school in the nation that has that. Even UNI is trying to put their schedule or their roster together, their varsity roster together. And all schools are for the most part. But so that being said, we kind of talked about this last week that there was a little bit of a concern at 49 and 57 for Iowa of really focusing in on those two athletes, and I think that concern probably stepped up. It amped up probably 6 or 7 levels with least. So now you've got to look for your other ones. I also want to say this because we kind of focus on the guys that aren't doing it there, but in my opinion, there's been 3 pretty solid rocks in the Iowa lineup: with Sariano, Ironman, and Marinelli. Obviously Cassiope, but he was out early, but not for an injury really or anything. But those 3 to me have really they've just been workmanlike and doing their job, and other than maybe a little fiasco up at the Luther Open at 33, it's been a good year for those 3 guys, I think. So
yeah, they've looked really good, and that's a really good sign, I think, for Marinelli more than anything, given how last year ended, coming back off injury, and that's good to see if you're an Iowa fan that Marinelli's at the kind of has been as dependable and reliable as he has, given how last year ended.
right, yeah, that's for sure. And then also in Pittsburgh, we got to go back even 3 years with Marinelli. So that was
Right.
we don't even want to think about that. But so there's a guy that you really hope gets her done this year. I mean, just seems to be such a great guy and solid person. So you got to pull hard for him.
Yeah. One of the things too, I know we talked about Drake Ayala at the Southern Scuffle, but he was one of I think 4 wrestlers that finished in the top 5, and three of them are extremely, young, and kind of shows Iowa's future a little bit, especially in those lower weights with Ayala, and then Cullen Shriver at 133. I believe he got fourth. And then Wyatt Henson, who got fifth at the Southern Scuffle. Aaron Costello, the heavyweight from Western Dubuque, I believe he's a senior. He got, I think he got fourth as well at heavyweight, but especially those young guys. You've got DeSanto, Ironman at 33 and 41 that are going to leave big holes, but I think you're starting to see two guys that are going to be the future after those two guys leave.
I would agree with you on that for sure. You mentioned Costello. I happened to watch one of his matches, and I like watching him wrestle. He's just for a heavyweight, he's a short guy, and but more, he's fun to watch. I like watching him, so I was glad to see he did well there. I guess I would say this about the scuffle and the mat man, that the quality wasn't probably what it has been in the past in terms of the overall tournament. So it's a bit of a barometer, but I'm not sure how much, I guess is what I'm getting at. So those guys did well. I don't know how many brought their varsity to that tournament. It didn't seem like a lot. That doesn't mean it wasn't good quality. It's great, as we know, great quality wrestlers that aren't on varsity for whatever reason, might be unattached or whatever. But so I kind of I'm a little guarded with that. I mean, that's definitely the future, and so we got to step up, keep improving to that next level. So
yeah, they've won some other tournaments as well. So they definitely have a good body of work. But like you said, got to keep building on that, and hopefully that's good experience for moving forward. Obviously, Iowa sending their group of wrestlers to the Southern Scuffle was kind of a last minute thing. A lot of how should I put it? Maybe some scrambling, I guess, to use a wrestling term, over the break, with the Midlands being canceled. With that, a group in Illinois decided to create Illinois Matman created the Matman Open in its place. Iowa folks in Iowa City tried to create the Hawkeye Open. That wasn't able to get up off the ground. So this group of wrestlers went from Midlands to the Hawkeye Open to the Southern Scuffle. You and I sent some wrestlers to the Matman Open there, and had a couple place winners in Julian Farber and I believe Jack Wagner. They got I think fourth and seventh respectively. So especially Farber, he's a freshman from Georgia. You and I's had a nice pipeline to Georgia, actually, probably thanks to Lee Roper. But I think that was a pretty good showing for the freshman.
Right. I'm going to back up to the tournaments and then comment on him, on Farber. It was nice to see the wrestling community step up and create two tournaments in place of the Midlands that was canceled, days prior to it starting. And so as far as, it kind of split the teams. Now they had to make a decision. Where do we want to go? Well, a lot of them already had their reservations, their flight plans, probably their travel plans, their hotels, and all that sort of thing. in the Chicago area. That's where the Mat Man was held. So it was just an easy, we're going to this one decision for him, I'm thinking. That being said, the Hawkeye probably didn't get enough, I'm guessing didn't get enough interest to want to host it when you've got that two other tournaments that you can send your kids to, that being the Mat Man and the Scuffle. So I'm guessing that's what happened. So I appreciate the efforts that were extended by the Hawkeye Invitational Group. As far as the Barbara, you and I was curious. I didn't know anything about him, and I saw that he's from Georgia, and I go, wow, that's cool. You don't see a lot of Georgia wrestlers. So I'm perked my interest, and I'm anxious to see more of him wrestle. So yeah, that was good. He placed fourth. So
yeah, and then also just kind of piggybacking what you said about the two tournaments, I thought it was interesting. I talked to Doug Schwab, before those events took place, and he had some guys ready to go to the Hawkeye Open. And the ones that really kind of stood out were Tristan Lara and Colin Real Buto at 149, and I think that was going to be something they were going to use to maybe to try to separate the two a little bit as far as being a starter. But I really liked what Doug Schwab said when he mentioned, hey, the wrestling community is one of the only ones that could have a major tournament shut down and two pop up in its place. So we were going to support them any way we could. So they ended up deciding to go two different places. Even though the Hawkeye Open wasn't held, they had people ready to go to compete there. And I think that was pretty cool on Doug Schwab's part to be willing to support both. It could have been real easy. We're just going to go down. Mat Man was the same time frame, but Schwab was one of the coaches willing to support both, and I think that was pretty cool.
right, yeah. And I'm it's just a guess on my part that they probably didn't have enough numbers. So, but that makes sense. I mean, the Mat Man had quite a few schools that attended there. Again, even that didn't have a lot of varsity schools though. So.
Yeah, and you really got to hand it to. I mean that I don't think people understand how difficult that is, especially at this level, to be able to get something off the ground like that. And they were trying to do it in a week, but now they kind of have an understanding, and it sounds like from the release, Luke Eustace and Josh Schomburger mentioned that this might be something that. Helps them get off the ground with a permanent event starting next year. So we'll have to keep an eye out on that and see how that progresses.
Right. And I'm guessing Nate Eichhorst had a big hand in that too. He's kind of runs the tournament, the computer part of it, and does a great job. He's an official and a good guy.
So we mentioned that Iowa has two big meets with Minnesota and Purdue this weekend. UNI does as well. They're heading up to South Dakota State, Brookings, South Dakota, to face the Jackrabbits and the University of Wyoming. So two good tests on Sunday for them. The one thing I mentioned about South Dakota State, Tanner Sloan wrestled pretty well. I believe he got fourth. His two losses came to Elam of Missouri and Cam Caffey of Michigan State at the Southern Scuffle. So he wrestled well there. And then Kate DeVos, the former Southeast Polk wrestler. Sloan's from Alburnett. I'm sure most people know that. But DeVos became South Dakota State's first Scuffle champion, winning at 174 pounds and beating Peyton Mako of Missouri in the finals. So two good showings this last weekend for them. And now UNI will go up there for a pretty good test.
Right. I happened to watch both of those matches, and DeVos did a real nice job. And that is it Moss? Is that his name? That wrestled. Those Missouri kids are good wrestlers, man, and they're young. That Elam, he's a big kid. I mean, I always thought Tanner Sloan was big, and then he made Taylor look small, and just long and tall and strong, and so I did happen to see that match. That Elam, it must have been the semifinal match, right?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, yeah, and anyway, yeah, I'm proud of our guys. Of Tanner's for doing really well there, and Voss, that's neat that he's a champ.
Yeah, and we had quite a few Iowa kids that were wrestling for South Dakota State. I know Jack Thompson was there. Was it Zach Price? And the Don Bosco prep, and it's gonna escape me here. Kimball.
Oh yeah, Kimball. Yeah, yep. I didn't see Kimball's match or any of his matches. I did see Thompson's one of his matches. Did a nice job. So I was kind of in and out. I was watching quite a few, but didn't catch Zach Price. I didn't catch his matches either.
Well, hey, the one last little thing with college, the D1 level. We'll talk about the national duels here coming up, but you watched what was left of Michigan and Arizona State last night. You thought it was a pretty cool deal considering what Flow Wrestling and the two teams had.
Right. So it was held in Texas. Not exactly sure where. It was a neat arena, and there's 4 matches because of COVID. I'm not sure if it was both schools or what the deal was, but I'm guessing it was Arizona State, and I'll tell you why in just a second. At least had some COVID in their side. That was an issue. But the 4 matches, man. First of all, Flo did a nice job. They had the smoke and the lights and the Michael Buffer type announcer, and
really,
ran them out, and from Arizona State, and anyway, real quality wrestlers. Like, I mean, if you wanted to pick any of them that you wanted to see, that would have probably been the matches you'd want to see. So anyway, Courtney got to wrestle. It was 125, 133, 141, and 184. And the nice thing about 84 is Miles Amin is down at 184 from 97. So that made it the one you wanted to see. His opponent was a young wrestler from Alaska, a state champ that was there. But so that one was probably the least competitive. It was the least competitive all 4. But Miles Amin's an Olympic bronze medalist, So and then also Micic was back. Stefan Micic was back. He was an Olympian as well. He hasn't wrestled folk style since 2019. So that was his first.
Really? Wow.
And that was a good match. Klebo from Arizona State is a freshman, and he's a 3-time Pennsylvania State champion. And he went 8-6 with him. It was a great match. So, very competitive. And then on the Arizona State, so that's the 2 matches that Michigan won, and then they split the matches 2-2. And then Arizona State won the other 2. That Brandon Courtney, the national runner-up, wrestled Jack Medley, but it was a close match also. So that one was and then Michael McGee, who's ranked 4th, wrestled Ragusin, who's ranked, I think, about 7th or 8th, maybe something like that. He is ranked, I think I have it here. 8th, yeah.
8th.
Anyway, I guess it probably depends on which rankings you look at too. But it was quality wrestling. It was really a neat affair. So kind of neat to do, and that's what's kind of made me want to plot out the different, where Penn State was, where Iowa was, where Michigan, where Arizona State was, because I got to see some of their quality wrestlers, and it made me curious. So I have to favor, and I'm kind of backtracking here, but I got to favor Penn State right now, and then really Iowa, Michigan, right in there for 2nd, 3rd.
Wow.
And then Arizona State not far behind. So
Speaking of Arizona State, it'll be interesting to see how things uh, develop there because Iowa State they'll wrestle Northwest Kansas Technical College on Thursday, but then on Sunday they head to Tempe, Arizona to wrestle Arizona State. So keep an eye on that to see if that's changed or if the format's altered there as well. But we'll have to see. Now this this Thursday marks the start of the national duel, the NWCA multi-divisional national duels, and we've already seen some changes to that field. Wartburg and Augsburg both not being able to attend, which has been they've been the two pillars of that event for decades, I would say.
I think they've won it every year since they've held it. It's either been either one of those two schools. So that'll end this year.
Mhm.
Either one of them being in attendance. So the I believe also for local information, Luther also has pulled out. They were originally scheduled to be there. At least they were seated. And then I just looked prior to the podcast here, and they're not listed anymore. So I haven't seen any release on why or whatever, but they're no longer.
Wow.
6 teams are out in D3 for whatever reason.
Wow. And you said that was the hardest one hit so far, right?
The hardest one hit. So that was the number 5 numbers. But this is the seeded teams. The 5th seed, 7th, 13th, 16th, 19th, and 20th, and then also. Division 2 has 3 of them out, so they're down to 19 teams, I guess, or at least last time I looked. That could probably change too. NAIA had 2 teams out, so they're down to 14. The junior college only had 8 teams to begin with. So they're out 2 teams, so they're down to 6. So it's not, it's hitting everywhere. The women's side, not as bad. There's 1 team out in the NCAA of the 16, so they're down to 15 on the NCAA bracket, and there's 15 teams, so 1 team out of the NAIA bracket. So yeah, and I can't tell you how much it hits home. It's just so disappointing, and it's not a surprise. I read in the Gazette a few days ago that Wartburg women's basketball and men's basketball had to shut down their program for a little while here for COVID, and I thought, oh geez, wrestlers stay away. So evidently they weren't able to avoid the bug, and I do know one guy that tested negative though.
Yeah, unfortunately he doesn't get to go there too, but yeah, hopefully it's a short interruption and they're back on the mat as soon as possible with little disruption as possible going forward.
Right. Now that being said, let's talk about the positive of the National Wrestling Tournament. Obviously Grandview is in it, and they're going to be the number 1 seed. Life will be number 2 right behind them. Then in Upper Iowa with the teams pulling, I think bumped up to maybe 5th or 6th seed now, so they're sitting pretty nice there. And then Division 3, there's where it gets fun. And locally, the number 1 seed, Poe, and rightly so. We kind of said that last week. And number 2, Loris. And if those 2 make the finals, the championship meet, then I was kind of looking at it. I'm going 5-5 in matches, so I don't know down to bonus points. And it could come down to heavyweight where you've got 2 solid wrestlers wrestling in heavyweight. So I'm going to be watching that for sure. That's going to be fun. Cole will have to go through North Central, who beat Wartburg at the Desert Duels, and then Loris has a little bit tougher route. They'll have to go through Johnson and Wales in the quarterfinals, and then probably UWL lacrosse in the semifinals. So we'll see what happens there. and it's like I said, it's gonna be fun to watch that. So we'll be pulling for the Co and Loris camps.
Yeah. So it'll be I think what Co had wins over North Central and Wisconsin lacrosse in December, but it'll be interesting to see how things might change in that North if they face North Central again.
Well, I think North Central was missing two pretty solid kids. They're for one, they're 97-pound NWCA champion last year was out, and then I think a lighter weight, very solid lighter weight, but they had two significant wrestlers out of that, so that could totally change that around, make that semifinal meet a lot more difficult. I failed to mention also that the University of Dubuque is in the tournament as well, so let's see where they land and who they'll be wrestling first round. So they're down to 16. So instead of a 24 team bracket, it's now a 16 team bracket. So everyone will have a first round match.
You've attended this a few times down in Louisville. What's the atmosphere like? What's the I guess what's the excitement level that surrounds this? Because I remember when it was all together at UNI, I really enjoyed that and the competition, from top to bottom.
Right.
What's it been like in Louisville?
The difference between, actually I've been to it when it was in Indiana and the last 2 or 3 years that it was in Louisville. Of course, they didn't have it last year, but the difference between UNI was that D1 was also competing in it then. So you had that aspect of it. Now Division I is the only division that doesn't compete in it. And it's cool. It's all over the place. So you've got a big arena with 8 mats in it, I think. And then you've got a big, I'm going to call it a convention center. It's not even that. It's kind of like a big field house that has, I think they had 32 or 34 mats in total in the whole tournament. So you could walk between the two. It's much like, only bigger, the Green State Field House down in Coralville and Extreme Arena. It's kind of like that sort of a setup. And there's also young kids wrestling. There's a youth tournament going on as well, which is why they had.
Oh, wow.
And so it was really a very cool deal. And I, even when Division III wasn't wrestling, I was so entertained with the Division II and the NAI, and especially with the Iowa teams. I could follow them and watch Upper Iowa, get a chance to see them and Grandview and so some of the quarterfinal meet 2 years ago was against Baldwin Wallace, and Wartburg wasn't doing very well. Well, Kyle in the last second gets a takedown on a kid that was doing nothing, that was trying to not wrestle for the tech fall. And then the heavyweight was down a bunch, or was only winning by a couple with about 30 seconds left. Jordan Brandon, he gets the enough points to get a major, which means Wartburg wins the meet 19-18, but only won 4 matches.
Wow.
That put them into the semifinals, which they won, and then in the finals, then they beat Augsburg. So that's how close they were to not being a national champions. So extremely fun and exciting, and all sorts of mats.
So that's when I really hope returns to Iowa and comes a little closer. But definitely a great competition here for this. A lot of I guess it would be the return to competition for a lot of teams here going forward. So.
Without question, it's a blast and just fun. If you like wrestling, it's worth the trip.
Yeah, and that's Thursday and Friday this year instead of Friday, Saturday. So make sure you check that out. Any other last college thoughts, or before we kind of transition to high school?
I wanted to mention the Citrus Open. Cornell went down to the Citrus Open, and I think there was probably 17, 18 teams down there or whatever, something to that effect, and finished third. So good for Cornell. They had a champion in 65-pounder Casey Allen. Killian Paragon, the 57-pounder, was second. And then they had a couple of thirds. Christian Dixon was third at 149. And then at 174, Jacob Scherzer, Jayhawk, lost his first match and then came back on the backside and won 6 matches to place third.
Wow.
And they were barn burners, a couple of them. And 3 of the matches were 1 or 2 point matches. So he did a good job, Jacob.
And that's one of the toughest things to do in tournament competition. Always marvel at somebody that falls to the consolation rounds after that first and then runs the gamut to third place. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I texted him and said, proud of you, nice job. It's not easy coming, winning 6 on the backside. And he said, no, it's not. Now it's beach time.
Yeah.
Going to the beach.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw some of the pictures and videos of them enjoying the beach too. So that's always a big part of those trips and memories that they'll take away for a while, having fun down there after, their hard work and competing. So that's pretty cool.
It's kind of like the reward.
Yep. So high school has kind of kicked off. I would say is getting ready to kick off, but there's actually a girls tournament last night in Anamosa. But for most of the varsity programs, they'll get rolling this week. I know duals start Thursday for the NVC. Couple that kind of stand out, Prairie and Iowa City High. That could be pretty interesting one there. But this weekend, that's where I think things really kick up a notch here in the season with the tournaments that we see, and just a little bit of a look ahead. The one that stands out most of all is the Benton Bobcat Jerry Eckenrod Invitational. Every year that field is stacked, and I think this year it's that way as much as any.
Well, if you mean having the number 1 team in 1A and the number 1 team in 2A and the number 3 team in 3A there as being stacked, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. So, of course, that's number 1 West Delaware in 2A, Don Bosco in 1A, number 1, and then Hawkeyes Northwest, the 3rd ranked team in 3A. For those of you that don't know, Hawkeyes, the school district split into 2 high schools. Hawkeyes Northwest was the new one that was created. And I think the majority of the wrestling strength ended up at Hawkeyes Northwest. That was a team last year's Hawkeyes. They battled West Delaware pretty much to the end for the team title at Benton, and now Hawkeyes Northwest, Don Bosco. We'll probably have a little bit more of the same, don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. And then, throw in perennial powers, Davenport Assumption. Hey, let's not forget Independence.
Mm-hmm.
2nd in 2A or 3rd?
They've dropped down to 10.
Down to 10th now? Okay. Well, I know that Isaiah Weber, their state champ, has struggled a bit, but I don't count on him struggling all the way through this season. Look for him to step it up. And then also you got Union and Williamsburg there, that always, and others that bring tough kids, So, I like Washington's going to bring their heavyweight, So, so you got individual coming from other teams as well. I think it's a full, I think there's 16 teams, so it's a full bracketer, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Vinton Schellsburg, they're the team that You know, they've added a couple individuals in the Sanders, um, who are now top ranked at 145 and 152. Cooper Sanders and Gabe Sanders, so that's a huge deal. Just kind of going over the brackets, and I thought this was kind of interesting. 120, you've got six ranked wrestlers in their respective classes. Um, you've got number six Andrew Kimball, Don Bosco in 1A, and then in 2A you've got number three Carson West Delaware, number five Derek Bass of Davenport Assumption, number seven Kale Wheeland of Independence, and then number 10 Titan Guerrero of Williamsburg. All those schools that you had mentioned, and then Northwest or Waukee Northwest has fourth ranked Ethan Mahoney. So you're looking at probably a 4 or 5 seed in the quarterfinals between ranked wrestlers, and that's something you don't normally see in a regular season tournament.
You know, you don't, but it's not untypical for the Benton Community Tournament. It's, you know,
true.
Year in, year out. It just seems like that happens. It's just, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be fun to watch for sure.
Speaking of another weight class, you mentioned, I think you touched on it just a tad, but at 145, you've got Cooper Sanders of Vinton Shellsburg ranked number 1 in 2A. You've got Isaiah Weber ranked number 2 in 2A. I believe Sanders pinned Weber in a duel in the first half of the season. And then you've got number 4 Michael Macias of Davenport Assumption, and he is really exciting wrestler to watch. Benton Community has a wrestler that's ranked 12th in the Brendan Hang, and then Don Rubino of Waukee Northwest is number 8 in 3A. But you've got 1, 2, and 4 in class 2A at 145 pounds there.
Right. And to show, I don't know if Mark will appreciate me saying this or not, but if I remember right, Macias's dad, I'm guessing it's his dad, was the only one that's beaten Mark Ironside twice. Mark
really
out of the room with only 5 losses in his career at Jefferson and a tie. And
wow.
So I think 2 of them came to Macias's dad, so which Mark beat as well. So.
Mm-hmm. And the matches of Macias that stand out to me was I think he went head to head with Cale Happel a couple times, and Happel opened things up late, but Macias was, I mean, I think I saw him at Clinton and maybe even Mount Vernon. I want to say that Macias was, you know, battled really close through the first period, but, you know, Cale Happel is Cale Happel, and not very many people could keep up with him.
Yeah.
But one other one I kind of want to mention too is at 152. That's another loaded weight class here. You've got Gabe Sanders of Vinton Shellsburg ranked number 1 in 2A. Then you've got Union's Hunter Worthen number 4. Logan Payton of West Delaware is number 5. Then in 3A you've got number 4 Jacob Fissler of Dallas Center Grimes, and then Braden Broderick, who's ranked for Waukee Northwest as well. So you've got another weight class with 5 ranked wrestlers. 138 is the same way. There are 4 ranked heavyweights that are all ranked 6th or better from 1A to 3A. So, man, this is a great way to open up tournament competition for the new year.
So in some tournaments, if you're not going to spend all day there, you kind of want to try and get there for the semifinals and the finals, right? In this one, you don't want to miss the quarterfinals.
Right. Right. So, of course, that's Saturday at Van Horn. A couple of the other tournaments that I want to mention: Jack Mendenhall and Ames, Cedar Rapids, Kennedy, City High, and Prairie will all be there. So will Ankeny. Ankeny Centennial, Fort Dodge, West Des Moines Dowling, and then we'll have Omaha Scott and I believe Papillion La Vista from Nebraska in the field as well. It looks like they have a girls tournament competition set up as well.
Right. So I was looking this morning at the Mendenhall, which, by the way, late Jack Mendenhall was the former coach at Ames. What a terrific man. Just a saint. I mean, really good guy. Was coached the Gibbons and had wonderful teams and wrestlers.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, the teams that were listed, there was 30 teams, and unless I missed it, I didn't see Prairie on that list. But then later on, when I looked at there's another section, Prairie was in there. So I'm not sure if Prairie has withdrawn or if they're in there and they just weren't included in that list of teams I was looking at. But anyway, so we'll see on Prairie. As far as the girls are concerned, on the list that that I was looking at, there's 15 girls teams, two of which, so it's a little deceiving, two of which had one wrestler, two of the teams had two wrestlers, and then the other teams combined for 224 wrestlers. So there's
Wow.
the other 15 that had hardly any, said like 25 or whatever. It's like, so if those numbers are correct, it's going to be huge. 220. I mean, the boys team, when I counted this morning, was at 279 as opposed to 229 for the girls. They're only 50 behind. I'm like, holy moly, that's impressive. So
Yeah.
Omaha Scott's bringing a girls team, and so lots of. I think Kennedy had 25 girls listed, as did City High.
Oh,
So,
wow.
very impressive. Let's see.
One of the I saw that Spencer, they're bringing their girls team to Ames, and I've always been impressed with the Spencer girls competing at the Iowa Wrestling Coaches and Officials Association tournament. So that adds a little bit to it too. That's going to be fun to watch some of the competition.
They have that. I've been there many times. Like I said, when we were competing, and so they have that. They kind of added on to their existing gym. So it's just a big long gym. They can put about
Oh, wow.
7 or 8 mats down there. So I'm guessing they're probably going to do that. Maybe more if they put them side by side. But problem is that on the half of it, you don't have seating for the spectators. It's not gymnasium. So that's an issue for that. But if they have that many teams, it's going to be a big tournament.
Right. Locally, there are a couple dual tournaments in the area too. The Linmar Duals. I think Linmar is kind of definitely the top team there. Mount Vernon will be there. They come there every year. I think they have a really good team. Xavier will be there. Marion, Western Dubuque comes down. Clear Creek, Amana. They also have Canton, Illinois, in the field this year. And Lamar's. Someone is listed, but I thought I saw someone listed somewhere else too. So it'll be interesting to see where someone ends up.
Yeah, so a lot of local teams, but I saw Lamar as well in Canton. I thought, thinking, wow, coming quite a ways to join the duels there. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah, give them somebody different to look at. And then Iowa City West has the Lepic Duels. West will wrestle Council Bluffs, Lewis Central, Pleasant Valley, Fort Madison, and Norwalk there as well. I think one of the ones that kind of turns my head a little bit, the Tripola Invitational. Lisbon's heading up to that. Denver's there. That's always a good small school tournament, and could be some fun matches up there.
I thought I saw that Waverly Shell Rock was there too. Am I wrong there? or maybe not their varsity. I don't know.
I'm not sure I can see. I know Wapsie Valley's there. Woodbury Central is making another trip over to this side of the state. Southwind, Belle Plaine. Belle Plaine used to be at the Eckenrod, and now they're heading to Pola instead. Let me look up and see where Waverly Shell Rock's at this weekend, just to confirm where they're at.
If they are there, Lisbon and Belle Plaine, or and Waverly Shell Rock would be a nice battle.
That would be great to
What's the
see how that unfolds.
what's the website, that the state website or whatever that that's where I saw it listed.
Okay, let me see here. It looks like they're going to be. Originally they were involved in the JV tournament at Tripola, and they're going to the Clash.
Oh yeah. Hello.
They're going to go compete at the Clash. Bendorf's also up there.
North Scott.
North Scott. Newton actually is heading up there. And Hawkeyes will be up there. So Hawkeyes and Waverly Shell Rock, part of that group, and the other teams that we mentioned, going to the Clash, which I think changed locations. I want to say that they weren't able to hold it in Rochester, and now they've switched venues to someplace near the Wisconsin border. I'm not sure on that. Sometimes I make stuff
too,
up,
but I wasn't sure where.
And just to mention a couple other tournaments this week: Gary Curtis Invitational at Highland, Alvernet will be there. New London will be there. Should be some good matchups. Washington, Iowa, South Tama, Regina have some good individuals. And then one of the meets not in our area, the Gary Christensen Invitational, Winterset. Osage will be there. Van Meter, Urbandale, as well as Winterset. So that's a pretty well-known tournament as well.
And here we go again. 2020.
What is the biggest key coming out of the break that you always look to kind of try to identify, or something that you really had your teams focused on coming out of the break, and what you wanted to see from them?
Getting back down to weight.
Really?
Well, you never know, right? So it's a long season. You start in November for the kids, and coming out of a middle school that's very short season, and then coming into a high school season, that's pretty tough for kids. So that break at Christmas time, that I always tried to build in a 7-day break for the team, and then when you come back, then you're probably getting into 2-a-days and really starting to hump it. So your focus is towards the tournament time, sectionals, districts, and state, and so everything from here to there is like a building block and stepping stone, and just kind of keeping them motivated and focused on the end.
Yeah, because really you only have 4 weeks before you're preparing for the postseason for the small schools, and this next 4 weeks really flies by. But then you're in the postseason.
As a wrestler and as a coach, it doesn't. Well, as a wrestler, it doesn't seem like it flies by, and as a coach, those kids that are struggling, because like I said, it's a long season. Now they've had a break. Now they're back into it. And maybe they don't have success. Take them to some tough tournaments like the Benton Community Tournament, and they get whooped on. And now all of a sudden, dropping their noggins a little bit, not feeling too good about it, and they're looking out and going, "God, I got 4 more weeks of this." So
Yeah,
it can be a bit of a struggle there.
sure. All right. I'm going to be at the Beckman Solon duel on Thursday. Um, are you gonna be anywhere Thursday now that you're not going to Louisville?
I'm not. I got change of plans, so that opened up. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do Thursday. Where I'm gonna go watch a meet somewhere, and then Saturday I'm likely to maybe head over to Benton Community. So we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. We'll see you. Definitely see you Saturday at Benton, and of course then we'll have lots of notes to compare for next week. Uh, just want to wish everybody a happy new year. Thank you for hanging with us throughout 2021, and hope you're with us here as 2022 gets rolling. And we really appreciate all our followers and people who watch. And Briggsy, why don't you take us out for our first 2022
Our
podcast?
guy Wyatt, right there. Let's keep wrestling on the move.
Thanks for watching, everybody.